How many people are struggling due to the cost of living crisis? In this video, I will talk about the cost of living crisis, the affordable housing scheme, and what I think about it. I will share an exchange with my local MP, share 10 ideas of how you can find an affordable place to live, and I will conclude my findings. You will see a structure of the video here on the screen, but also I have put timestamps so that you can jump to wherever you're most interested in. Let's begin. People on a low income are struggling to make ends meet. In this video, I want to refer to the struggle, the housing crisis, but also I want to talk to you about options. If you are in this situation, how can you end this circle at least on a personal level? This problem is not just a British one.
Okay.
Other European countries are facing it too. But as I'm living in the UK is the economy I will focus on. To understand the struggle of being in a full-time job and not being able to make ends meet, please watch the following video, which I will link here. I'm going to refer in this video to London, but that doesn't mean that other parts of the country aren't struggling. And I have thought about a recurring comment that I got on the video that I have just linked, which was just move out of London. And I've come to the conclusion that that's really not the solution. Moving out of London doesn't necessarily mean that my situation or your situation will get better. People in other parts of the country are struggling too. Before we are diving into possible solutions, I would like to take a little detour and speak on the government's efforts, or the lack thereof, to provide affordable housing. The government has a scheme. It's called the Affordable Housing Scheme. I looked at the reports for 2016 to 2021 and 2021 to 2026. What I was trying to find out is what has been done, what has been delivered, what is currently in the process, hence where are we currently. When reading the report by the Mayor of London, what stood out to me is that there were 3 areas where money was going. 1, affordable housing. 2, shared ownership. 3, London living rent. Uh-oh, my battery's about to die. Number 2 and 3 are basically one because they connect. I have this explained, which I will link up here, but maybe watch it later. Basically, just to catch you up, it's a scheme where you pay rent, but part of your rent you save for a property you buy, but these savings are for a shared ownership property. So I went through the 2016 to 2021 paper, and it quickly became apparent that there was mostly talk about number 2 and 3, London living rent and shared ownership, which really raised my eyebrows. Because shared ownership, in my opinion, has nothing to do with providing affordable houses. This is what I've explained in more detail in my shared ownership video. If you know the new built properties that are being sold within the shared ownership scheme, they are not starting in the affordable range. It may be affordable because of the scheme, but it is more set out to make the people rich who created the scheme than the people who are looking for affordable housing. In my opinion, if the government is talking about affordable housing, they should create spaces for people to live on benefits or people that are below the 30k range. They should provide housing that is not connected to a scheme. Housing that is affordable, which is exactly what this scheme is named, Affordable Housing Scheme. So you would think that they're creating something that is affordable, not a scheme that people are dragged into that makes them stuck in the scheme. Another reason why it kind of gives it away that shared ownership is not about affordable housing is the fact that people can access it with an income up to 90k in London and up to 80k outside of London. If you earn between 45 and 90k, you are not in need of affordable housing. So why do you get access to a scheme that the government labels affordable housing? And as I said before, these properties are not very affordable. As far as I'm aware, the cheapest ones start at 300k. It's actually more likely to be 350 or more. And those are one-bed flats. They're not big flats. So I was trying to figure out if there has been any real effort into creating affordable housing. I googled and googled, but I couldn't find any hard facts. And by hard facts, I mean I was looking for actual numbers of affordable housing in the different boroughs of London. Like, for example, something that would tell me, in the borough of Wandsworth, we were able to provide this amount of affordable housing to this many people through the affordable housing scheme. But I couldn't find that. Now, if you are in a borough where you know there has been more affordable housing created through the scheme, please comment below, because I would really like to know. Because I don't want to say that they don't exist just because I couldn't find them. But what I do know is that, for example, in my borough, there is a long waiting list for affordable housing. In this case, I'm referring to council housing, because right now there are only 3 options. Council housing, which is more affordable, regular housing, which rent is through the roof, and then shared ownership. So my question is, are there boroughs that offer new affordable housing opportunities? And if you know, please comment below. Now, out of curiosity and also to share with you, I contacted my local MP to get her opinion on this. I will put my email on the screen, but I will also read it out to you. Hi, I am concerned about the lack of truly affordable housing for working people in my area, especially those earning under 30,000 per year. I've been researching this issue and have come across several challenges. Accessing affordable housing through the council appears almost impossible. Many of the government's affordable housing initiatives are focused on shared ownership. The Mayor of London reports show funding going towards housing schemes, but it's unclear how much of that is helping low to moderate earners. I would be grateful to know, what action are you currently taking on the issue of affordable housing? Whether you're willing to raise concerns in Parliament, what support you can offer constituents who are struggling but not considered a priority by the council. Okay, now it took 5 weeks to get a response, and you could say they're just too busy to answer, but the reality is, when I contacted them before on a more easy task, if you will, they responded to me within days. So to be honest, I wasn't really expecting a response anymore, but 5 weeks later I did get a response. So again, I'll put it on the screen, but I'll also read it out to you. Dear Melanie, thank you for getting in touch regarding this issue of a lack of genuinely affordable housing in your area. I know how acute this issue is across our borough, where over 18,000 households are currently on the council housing waiting list. I found that interesting because I didn't know the actual number. And thousands of children are growing up in temporary accommodation. This simply is not acceptable. I find it kind of very political answer, but let's carry on. I share your view that our community has access to secure, affordable homes that meet our needs. The current system is not delivering too many in our community. That's why I welcome the government's commitment in the recent spending review to deliver the biggest boost to social and affordable housing in a generation, with a 39 billion investment over the next decade. Okay, so 39 billion for the next 10 years, but is that for the entire country? Is that for England? Is that for London? This includes a new affordable homes program focused on building homes for social rent. So I guess social rent, she means council houses, and other genuinely affordable tenure. I hope she doesn't refer to shared ownership here, which could make a real difference in areas like ours. This investment won't solve this crisis overnight, but it is a vital step toward reversing years of underinvestment and ensuring that people in our council can live and raise families in the communities they're part of. Please don't hesitate to get in touch if you like to discuss this further or need support navigating housing services houses locally. Best wishes. I do feel this is a very political answer because I don't get an answer with actual times, like when do we know how much money is going to be referred to our council. This number 39 billion for what big of an area, and then also because it's over the next decade, so how much is that then per year? Well, I guess I can calculate that, but I still don't know whether she's only referring to London. And then I appreciate the email, but I do feel that it's a bit wishy-washy. The last sentence, please don't hesitate to get in touch, is kind of just a polite sentence. I don't think she actually wants me to follow up on this. It doesn't really tell me much at all. I don't know how she feels about shared ownership, which I have mentioned in my email. She says there's 18,000 people waiting for social housing. I don't know, with the money that's possibly coming in, how many thousands of people can be helped by this. It's very wishy-washy, but then again, I don't want to say what did I expect because it's kind of negative. The next part of this video, I put a lot of effort into finding 10 points that I can share with you on how you can find affordable housing. First of all, the first one is what we just talked about, social housing. Now, even though it may seem impossible, if we don't take any action, we can't expect any outcome. If you want to get into social housing, you should get on the waiting list, even if it's long, because you don't know what will come up in the future. You don't know if people will drop from the list. You just don't know. So even though it may seem impossible, if that could be a chance for you, I think you should get on the waiting list. Cheap or cheaper housing. Now, for this point, I did go on Spare Room and I searched on a really low budget, and I was actually surprised that I was able to find rooms that were lower priced than the average. I would say the average rate for a room is around £800 right now. I think I was able to find rooms for as low as 600, sometimes even 500. But by saying that, I want to urge you to be really careful that you are not falling for any scams. I think the website itself, Spare Room, has a list of points to go through to make sure that the ad is legit. The other thing, of course, is that you won't find a room like that in central London. You will be a bit further out. But if you are willing to be a bit further out, you could find a more affordable option. Also, if you are willing to sacrifice space and just have a very small room, you could potentially save money. The other idea I had, I'm gonna share a very quick story about a friend of mine. A friend of mine and her partner, this was a few years ago, they were in need in finding a flat or a house to rent very quickly and ideally at a cheap rate. And they just told their friends about it, and somehow it materialized that one of their friends knew a friend who wanted to rent a house for cheap, because at the same time there would also be renovations going on, and they were aware that they couldn't rent the house at full price while they were doing that. Now, I actually don't remember if that many renovations happened while they were living there. I would have to ask her. I know that in the first few months they didn't actually even start with the renovations. So I know this is rare, but never underestimate the power of contact. Somebody might know. So you could post in Facebook groups, other groups, I can't think of anything right now. But again, if you do that, be very careful, don't get scammed. The other idea I had was if there was a website for people wanting to rent a room in their house that is more affordable than the going rent to people that are around that 30k mark, or even maybe an elderly person that is still fit, that has a big house but would be happy to rent a room out. It would be really great if there was a website like that. If there already is a website like that, please let me know about that. And if not, that would be a really great idea for somebody to create that website. The third opportunity I want to mention here is finding a better paid job. I know that's often easier said than done, but we're all in different walks of life. And for some people that might be easier. For some people it might not be an option. But if you think you could get a higher paid job or a promotion, then if you have more money, housing obviously becomes more affordable to you. Now, I mentioned in the beginning that I don't think that moving somewhere else is necessarily the solution for a lot of people, including myself. But it could be a solution. If it's something that you would consider, if it's something maybe you've thought about before anyway, if you're a nurse or a doctor and you have the opportunity to go to Australia and earn a lot more money there, why not? It all depends on your personal circumstance and what you want. I don't want people to move away who have their family here, have their friends here, don't want to move away. But we are all in different walks of life, and if this could be a good solution for you, then why not? Or the other idea is, if you have a job where you work from home or mostly work from home, you could move further out from the center and simply rent a room or a flat somewhere where rent is lower. If you are in a position where you could buy property, what you pay with your mortgage could potentially be lower than what you pay in rent. Again, this might not be an option for everyone, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because I used to not even consider to buy because my parents never bought. I don't want to say it's not in my family because my grandparents did buy a house in the past, but from my parents, I've never heard talk about buying property. They never bought property. I never really thought about it as an option. So you might have never thought about it, but it could be an option. And this leads to my next point. It might not be an option by yourself, but it might be an option with your partner, or if you don't have a partner, it might be an option with your best friend or your brother or your sister. But all I'm saying, it could be an option that could be explored. Now I'm sharing something I recently came across. I had never heard of this before. It is a scheme that's called property guardianship. And if I find a little clip that explains it, then I'm gonna play it here.
I'm actually a property guardian.
What on earth is that?
I'll show you. Welcome to my home. It actually used to be a warehouse.
A warehouse? How the hell have you ended up in a warehouse?
Well, because I'm a property guardian, we look after buildings when they're not in use, and then I pay a small license fee every month.
And that license fee's like rent?
Yeah, essentially.
That's pretty cool.
So property guardianship is where people who are on a low income live in properties like churches or halls, and they guard these properties. So these properties can be a different shape. They can just be different to your average household, but you pay less rent. If I can't remember, but I think it's £450 a month. And so if you're looking for something long-term but more affordable and you're happy with something a bit more out of the ordinary, then I'd definitely look into that. My next point is shared accommodation. This might not be for you, or it may well be for you. Sharing your room with somebody else might be more affordable as a general idea, but also I wanted to mention a website I came across, and it's the website of the London Housing Association. So the London Housing Association could be a place for you to find accommodation if you are on a low budget, because they rent private and shared accommodation for lower than market price. I got in touch with them and I found out that they currently don't have any private rooms available. I think they still had shared accommodation available, and also there was the option to apply to work for the accommodation. I think it was 20 hours of work a week, you would get a bed in a shared room, and also I think you get breakfast and dinner. I don't know, maybe it's breakfast and lunch, I can't remember, but you get more than just the accommodation. But if you were really serious about getting a private room with them, what I would do is contact them and see if they have some sort of waiting list, or maybe keep contacting them, because I mean, somebody will eventually move out, don't you think? Number 9. This is more a temporary solution, but I wanted to mention it. It's house sitting. I've used websites like Trusted House Sitters and House Sitters UK. Once you've done a few house sits and you've built up a good reputation, people leave positive reviews about you, it's easier to get more house sits. But it's mostly not a long-term solution, because most people go away for 1 to 3 weeks. If you are very lucky, somebody may be going away for 6 weeks or 2 months. I wanted to mention this option if you are between rentals or you just need something in between. It is an option. So I'm going to link both websites down below. And then number 10, I don't want to encourage anybody to do this, but because I've watched a fair amount of YouTube videos about this, I thought I'm just gonna mention it on here, and that is living in your car. Now, I have come across this through a couple of American YouTubers who have done this for 2 purposes. 1, travel the country. 2, get back on their feet. I'm going to link both channels down below. One of the YouTubers, he was not in a good place in his life. He needed to pay off a lot of debt, and so he decided to move into his car and still work and just make it work. But it's not really something I want to recommend to you. And I don't know if this is something that actually works in the UK. I don't know if anybody does that in the UK. Please let me know in the comments. I'm really curious. But what I do think, if there is something that you can do to save money, to get back on your feet, do it. Because yes, there is a barrier between the people who have money and the people who don't have money. And the only way to break into the housing market, the only way to actually get on the housing ladder and buy a house or a flat, is you need to save for a down payment. And I know there are options where you don't need a down payment, but if your overall situation isn't good, or if you need to pay off debt, if you just need to get to a good place with money, you may need to go through a route where your outgoings are very low and where you can save and make better money choices from the money that is coming in. So that's the only reason I wanted to mention these 2 last points as well.
I actually just thought of another option, live-in jobs. Whether it's a nanny live-in job or a housekeeper live-in job or an elderly care live-in job. There's quite a few options in the UK. Now, this obviously comes with a sacrifice as well. It's maybe not something you want to do, but for the purpose of this video, I just wanted to brainstorm with you and bring all the ideas I have, and maybe this is something you want to do.
I feel like I've talked so much more in this video than in any other videos, but there was a lot to say. Let's come to the conclusion. My conclusion is there needs to be better access to affordable accommodation for working people on a low income. But the other thing also is that I think you need to remind yourself you only need one home and one job that works for you, that you're happy with. And because sometimes we look at a whole situation that looks really bad and a lot of negative thoughts come along with that. And I think in that situation, you need to remind yourself you just need to get lucky with one job and lucky with one accommodation or one property that you can afford and that you'd be happy to live in. Something I didn't mention in this video because I thought it's a bit of a no-brainer. If you have the opportunity to move back in with your parents for a while, or if you have a partner that you could move in with, then those are options too. But I wanted to go into more detail for people who don't have these options. Remember that every situation is unique. Think about what your strengths are and how you can make the most out of your situation. You may have options that I don't have and the other way around. But what I wanted to show with this video, yes, there is a problem, but we all need to try to be part of a solution. Do speak out, do contact your MP, maybe go into politics yourself, help your neighbor, ask for help. Doing things that gets us out of our comfort zone is moving into the right direction. This is the only way to push for change. Thank you for watching. If you have actually made it to the end of the video, please comment a heart. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. Please leave a comment below and see you next time. Bye! How many people are struggling due to the cost of living crisis?
According to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, about 4.4 million low-income families in the UK were behind on at least one bill or credit commitment as of May 2025. Additionally, a significant percentage, about 82% of low-income families with children, were going without essentials in the months leading up to that date.